Alright, for this first video for 5-4, the sum and difference identities, these are all on the handout for you. As I explained in class, these you will have the ability to use these formulas for the quiz. You will be given these formulas. The main thing to understand is the objective. We want to use these sum and difference formulas, and we also want to use special angles in the unit circle to get trig values of non-special angles. Now, what do I mean by non-special angle? Well, if you look at the first one, actually 1, 2, and 3, see how we have 15 degrees? I don't know what the sine and cosine of that is, unless I just put it in my calculator. I can't make a special right triangle with it, so we're going to use this to get it in fraction form. Now, the main thing is, this A and B, they have to be special angles in the unit circle. If they're not, then we can't use these formulas. So if I want to find, number one, if I want to find the cosine of 15 degrees, I want to come up with two angles that either add or subtract to 15, but they have to be special angles. So some examples, here's an example I could do 60 minus 45, that's in the unit circle. I could do 45 minus 30, that's in the unit circle. There's many different angles I could use in the circle. I could go to the second quadrant and do 135 minus 120. They're all angles that are in the unit circle. But the one thing I can't do, I could not do, let's do this, 90 minus 75. 90 minus 75 is 15, but this 75, this is not a special angle, so I can't use that. Now I'm going to use this. These are the smallest ones. It's always easier to use small angles that are in the first quadrant. So another way to write number one, I'll make this a little bit bigger, I'm going to focus on number one here, is I could say this is equal to cosine of 45 minus 30. So 45, I'm just going to plug that in for A, and 30, I'm going to plug that in for B. Now if I use cosine, since I have minus here, so if I use this minus, that's the bottom sign, that means when I use the formula, I'm going to have to use the bottom sign, which is plus. So I'm going to have cosine of A, which is 45, times cosine of 30, and then plus, what do we have, sine of A, which is 45, times the sine of 30. Now the good thing about this, I know what sine and cosine are at 45 and 30 degrees. So just evaluate them. Let's see here, cosine of 45 degrees, that's root 2 over 2. Cosine of 30 is root 3 over 2. Sine of 45 is root 2 over 2. And then sine of 30 is 1/2. And then if I just multiply these out, well, let's see here. This root 2 over 2 times root 3 over 2 is root 6 over 4. And then the root 2 over 2 times 1/2 is root 2 over 4. You have the same denominator, you're adding, so I can combine these and just say it equals root 6 plus root 2 over 4. And that's it. That's all you do to this. If I wanted to do, I'm going to skip down to number 5. And I'm going to do sine of 75 degrees. Well, I actually could use the same angles. Now, sine of 75, I could just add 45 and 30. So I could rewrite this as the sine of 30 plus 45. So 30 is like saying that's A in the formula. 45 is like saying it's B in the formula. Now, if I use this formula, I'm going to go up to the formula. When I look at sine, okay, look, I'm dealing with plus. So if I'm dealing with sine, if I'm dealing with this plus, then I'm going to use a plus. So it's going to be sine of A, cosine of B. So I'm going to use this formula right now. I'm just going to get the setup, and then that's it. So if I use the setup, I'm going to have sine of A, which is sine of 30, times cosine of B, which is cosine of 45, and then plus cosine of A, which is 30, and then times sine of B, which is 45. And you know what? We actually know these values right away, so let's get the values. Let's see here. We will complete this. Sine of 30 is 1/2. Cosine of 45 is root 2 over 2. That should be real easy. Cosine of 30 is root 3 over 2. And sine of 45 is root 2 over 2. We actually wound up getting the same answer as number 1. We get root 2 plus root 6 over 4. So it's actually turned out being the same. They're not always going to be the same, but the main thing when doing these, other than just getting to the formula, these two angles, they have to be special angles in the unit circle, and they have to add or subtract to give you this non-special angle in the unit circle.